For generations, women have been taught to be nice. We have been told to smile, to be agreeable.
Oh, oh Joe, here she comes.
I'm not smiling because I've just been funeral. I'm also not smiling because you're talking to me. You fuck!
And to put others first and always consider other people's needs and their emotions and how they're feeling. Society has conditioned us to suppress our anger, to suppress our needs, to suppress the need to stand up for ourselves and speak our truth proudly and boldly, to stand up for ourselves and raise our voice for God's sake. When a woman does that, it's like a crime. Teaching us to betray ourselves. And the cost? Our identity, our power, our freedom, our needs, our dreams and goals, all of which is negatively impacted by it. Let's talk about how women in our society have been brainwashed into being people pleasers. Hey guys, it's Lamisha Faria. Welcome back to the Sweet and Savage Show and another episode of the Step Into Your Power series. For years, from my childhood up until early 16 years old, I was the perfect daughter. Obedient, polite, nice, agreeable, didn't make a fuss, never raised my voice. Behind that persona was a lost sense of self, me being miserable deep down, me betraying myself. There was me trying to be everything for everyone else and losing myself, my needs, my boundaries. As a woman, as a girl, I grew up believing certain things that shaped me into being a people pleaser as well. That reinforced me into me being a people pleaser. That made me realize that, oh, as a woman, I should be a people pleaser. Certain things like cultural expectations, certain beliefs from the religion that I grew up in, and certain things that my parents taught me that was part of the culture of how women should behave and what kind of beliefs they should have and how they should act. Let me share with you an example that may seem simple, but in actuality, a lot of women experience this that makes them believe and think and act like a people pleaser later down the line. So when I was around 7 or 8 years old or something, I had certain aunties come over. We were all talking and stuff, and she was like,
"Oh, Lamisha is so nice. She's such a nice girl. And she never makes a fuss."
However, I have a brother who's like 3 years older than me, and guess what? I never heard anyone say that to him. I mean, he didn't make a fuss per se. He wasn't a bad child per se. He was just a normal kid. But I never heard anyone say that to him. I never heard anyone say,
"Oh my gosh, he is so nice. He's such a good child. He always listens to his parents."
Raising your voice? What do you mean raising your voice? My anger was suppressed. I wasn't allowed to express my anger. I got harshly judged whenever I expressed anger. That emotion was foreign to me. Up until teenage years, I felt ashamed of my anger. I disowned this aspect of myself. My anger, my boundaries, my need for standing up for myself and speaking the truth, calling out someone's BS, defending myself, that was suppressed. Let's talk about the double standards that guys and girls have, or I should say men and women. That kind of goes under the radar and it's not that obvious. Girls and women are taught or are influenced to believe and think to sit quietly, be agreeable, be nice. God forbid, do not express anger. No, your job is to sit still and be pretty. Girls and women are taught that standing up for yourself, saying no, is rude, is bad, that you shouldn't do that. Raising your voice? That's like out of the window. What do you mean raising your voice? You cannot do that. I mean, that's really rude. That's so disrespectful. Well, here is Joe raising his voice, but nobody said anything about it. But if you're doing that, that is a whole different ball game, sweetheart. Versus when men raise their voice. This is the problem that also contributes to women being people pleasers. But when it comes to men, how many times do you hear them saying, "Oh, yeah, I feel ashamed of this aspect of myself," although I might say if you're a man and you've experienced childhood trauma and you grew up being a people pleaser or a codependent as a man, yes, you grew up feeling ashamed of this aspect of yourself. But other than that, culturally speaking, when it comes to double standards, when it comes to men, they don't feel ashamed to express their anger. There's no story behind it. They just express it so freely, as if it's just a normal thing. So, hey guys, editing Lamisha here. I just forgot to mention the fact that the problem is when a woman is angry, they are told that, oh, you are exaggerating, you are being bossy, you are being rude, you're overreacting. So as someone who grew up feeling ashamed of standing up for myself, expressing anger, saying no, and setting a boundary, guess what happened? When I actually threatened my bully, I was not in control of my emotions anymore, and it's just like my anger bursted out of me and I threatened my bully. And guess what happened? After I went home, I literally felt ashamed. I felt ashamed and I felt guilty for doing that. Now looking back, I'm so proud of my past self because I stood up for myself and I did the very thing that I was so afraid of. Due to another situation that happened right afterwards with people around me that told me and made me feel like I shouldn't have done this in the first place. And it made me feel even more ashamed and guilty. And I remember feeling so heartbroken after that experience, so betrayed. You hear this when it comes to women. Don't make a fuss. Anger is the aspect of ourselves that tells us when something is not right, when something is not okay, when someone is crossing our boundaries, treating us disrespectfully. Anger is the aspect of yourself that tells you to stand up for yourself, that tells you to speak your truth, that tells you to say, F you, I don't give a F what you think about me, I'm gonna do this, this is who I am, and this is not okay. Anger is such an important aspect of yourself that you suppressing this aspect of yourself to all the women out there is the reason why you are walked all over like a doormat. And you suppressing that is you suppressing who you are, is you suppressing yourself, your own beliefs and your values. Because if you don't stand for something, you will fall for everything. I'm sure you've heard about this. Anger is that aspect of yourself that tells you to stand up for what you believe in, to fight for what you believe in. Anger is the aspect of yourself that wants you to respect yourself. It's not men that come out and say, oh, we were taught to feel ashamed of our anger. It is actually women who say those things and who are pressured to feel that way when it comes to expressing their anger. I was reading this article and there's the statement that I would like to mention, which is the penalty for being disliked is not proportionate for women. There's this one woman who is in an abusive relationship and another woman said, oh my gosh, can you believe that? After all of the years where her husband literally physically abused her, she stuck through with that. She has been so patient and kind, and she has stuck through with him after all of these years. My jaw literally dropped because that literally kind of sums up everything that I've been talking about. This whole situation with women being rewarded or praised for staying in a toxic relationship is the reason why so many women do not leave toxic relationships. Women being praised for going that extra mile, for giving people the benefit of the doubt, for seeing the good in people even though she is being mistreated, even though she is being abused. How many times do you hear women staying in bad relationships, but them thinking, oh, I'm doing such a good job. You know, he's just a troubled man. He's just a troubled guy and he needs my compassion. He needs my empathy. You know, he needs someone good like me. You know, it would be really selfish for me to leave him. How many times do you hear men staying in a toxic relationship and them tolerating all of these bad behaviors?
I'm sorry, but how often do you hear that a woman cheats on her man and he stays?
Never.
You will never hear that.
Never.
If we did the things that they did, they would be out so quick. They would not. Why is it always women have to forgive? Why do we have to have such big forgiving giving hearts. Why?
Not 90%, it's
100% of the time.
That's true. I
If
don't
I
know
tried my
anybody.
man, he'd have been like,
Okay.
bye.
It's like a woman should not feel fed up about being mistreated. Because historically, socially, and culturally, women are expected and brainwashed to be the fixer, to be more forgiving, giving people the benefit of the doubt. Women are judged more harshly for choosing themselves and prioritizing their needs. Which leads me to another point that I just mentioned right now, is the fact that when it comes to women, you are expected to put everyone first. You should always consider other people's needs, their concerns first, but yourself last. But put your needs on the back burner. Women are taught that practicing healthy selfishness or focusing on themselves is a really bad thing. It's not good. It's bad. It's rude. It's egotistical. It's evil. Well, men can do that. Very unapologetically. They can be selfish, they can express their anger without shame. But when it comes to women, it's kind of a different story. When it comes to women being selfish, you feel so much shame around that. Because we are taught that we should always consider other people, their needs, their opinions, what they want, to be the caretaker. Our self-worth lies in being the caretaker. It kind of goes to show the fact that there is a double standard when it comes to men and women. And they can be selfish, but when it comes to a woman, you see them rather suppressing their own needs, their own dreams, aspirations, to please the people around them, to marry and settle down and have kids. Because as women, you are taught that your self-worth lies in getting married, settling down, popping out as many babies as you can. Majority of the women in our society were influenced, taught to believe this. In our society, a woman being single in her 30s or 40s and, I don't know, being passionate about her career and being focused on her career is seen as bad. It's seen as kind of a failure. It's seen as, oh my gosh, like, she's not married, like, that's a really bad thing. That is like a failure for a woman. It's like something that she should be ashamed of. Whereas when it comes to men in their 30s, building a successful career and focusing on their career, it's like, wow, that man is successful. But when it comes to women, it's like, wow, you mean she's not married? What is she doing? Oh, she's a cat lady, she's not married. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You putting yourself first and focusing on yourself and your passions, God forbid, just living your life, is seen as bad, selfish, rude. But when a man does that, no, he's being very successful. He's built an empire. But when it comes to a woman, you settling down and popping out as many babies as you can is where your self-worth lies, your main job as a woman. There is nothing wrong with settling down and getting married and being a good wife and being a good mother and having kids and raising them with so much love and care. I would want to do that one day as well. That is the truth. One day I do want to be a mom. One day I do want to settle down. One day I do want to raise my kids with so much love and care. But being told that your self-worth lies in getting married, popping out babies as much as you can. This is what women came here to do on this planet Earth. That is literally what is effed up and problematic. In movies, social norms, cultural expectations, as someone who grew up in a South Asian country, which is Bangladesh, and when you are around 23, 24, marriage, proposals, oh, she should get married pretty soon. Other relatives kind of pressure the girl to get married as if her job, her role, her responsibility as a woman is settling down, putting herself in the back burner, her dreams, her wishes, and getting married and popping out as many babies as she can. That's her only responsibility and her role as a woman. When it comes to some religions, oh my, there are some statements, verses, part of the purity culture that states that women should think, act, behave this way. Otherwise, X, Y, and Z things would happen, and they are responsible for that. If a woman does not dress conservatively, modestly, she will tempt religious men, and she is responsible for the lustful thoughts that these men are going to have about her. But growing up with this belief that I am responsible for what people think or how they feel is like the recipe for you being a people pleaser. But you see, that's the whole damaging belief that women are taught within the purity culture, that we are responsible for other people's thoughts. We are responsible for how other people feel. Men are not taught this concept. I came across this TikTok video from watching a video from Frog Funky Bite or something. Write the correct name of her channel. By the way, she's amazing. I love her. I was watching her video about trad wife lifestyle being trending and all that. So let me share the 3 of the TikTok videos she included in her video. I thought they would be really helpful to show you as well.
As an ex-Mormon woman, here's what I think is getting lost in a lot of the discourse around the Times article about Ballerina Farm. It's been super invalidating to see a lot of people saying, how dare we disempower a woman by suggesting that she cannot be happy making bread and making babies. It completely disregards the intense, every fiber of your being messaging that Mormon women and also many other Christian women get about their only value add to society is as wife, is as mother, is as homemaker.
We are taught at a very, very young age what our roles are and how we are going to get into heaven. And as a woman, you have a uterus and you are there to populate the earth with as many Mormons as you can. Did you know that when a Mormon couple is married in the church, they're bound to each other, okay? But they're not just bound together in life, they are bound together in eternity. If she were to leave him, she would still be bound to him. However, she would lose access to her children in eternity. They would no longer be hers. They are his. They belong to him. For a devout Mormon, that is terrifying. It's so much deeper than she's just promoting traditional values. This is the stuff that's been told to her whole life.
I'm a former Mormon trad wife. I have 6 kids. I'm 38 years old. I don't have an education. I got married young. I had kids young, and I absolutely gave up on my hopes and dreams to choose the life that I have now. Now that I've been out of the church for 3 years, I will tell you that I was never actually given a choice. It's not fair to show someone 10 candy bars and say, hey, you can choose this candy bar, which is the right candy bar that you should choose, or you can choose these 9 which are poisonous and deadly, and if they don't kill you, they're going to kill all of your friends and family members. What would you like to choose?
And it is you, as a woman growing up carrying this burden and being taught that you are responsible for carrying this burden. You are taught that you should never think about yourself. If you think about yourself and you do what you feel like it's right for you, you are evil, you are selfish. Which is also connected to you focusing on yourself and your own wants and needs. No wonder why women are growing up being people pleasers in our society. Do you now see how women in our society are being brainwashed into being people pleasers? From the messages that we grew up hearing from other people, cultural expectations, the fact that a woman's job and role is to settle down, marry, have babies, that her worth lies in doing all of these things, that this is her only responsibility as a woman, and as well as certain messages, statements, verses from certain religions that reinforce this idea even more about woman needing to be a people pleaser, betraying herself, causing a lost sense of self, trying to be everything for everyone else. And everything that I just mentioned is a recipe for disaster, is a recipe for molding women to be people pleasers in our society. I grew up believing these things as well. And it was really damaging, and I was miserable behind that nice girl persona. And there was so much rage within me, suppressed rage, all the ways that I was taught. I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't speak up, stand up for myself, say no, set a boundary, or the fact that no, I do not want to do this. Because you know, when I started to stand up for myself, speak my truth, set boundaries, and be my most unapologetic self, people really did ask me, oh my gosh, where did the Lamisha go? That was so kind and agreeable. And oh my gosh, she was such a nice girl. Where did that girl go? Like, why are you acting this way? Like, why are you being so rude? Why are you being so selfish? Why are you thinking about yourself? When in fact, in the past, I was a codependent who betrayed herself and put everyone first, abandoned myself, who had no self-respect. I didn't set boundaries. I never disagreed with anyone else. A guy, man, can be unapologetic, selfish, ruthless, but a woman cannot do that. Women are taught, oh, be quiet, agreeable, sit tight, be pretty, be quiet, agreeable. And I deserve to prioritize myself and my own needs. And I deserve to practice healthy selfishness. And I do that unapologetically. And guess what? I also have learned to raise my voice and to not be ashamed of it. It felt so good to raise my voice and to reclaim this aspect of myself. I'm not saying the fact that you always need to raise your voice. Like, no, you don't need to raise your voice in order to make a point. You don't need to do that. But because women are taught to keep things inside. And for me, reclaiming this aspect of myself and raising my voice and saying whatever I want to say, I've never felt more peaceful. I'm not having a war within myself. I would rather have a conflict externally rather than internally. I would rather have a war and disappoint and piss people off rather than not saying the things that I actually wanted to say.
Oh, let me just keep the peace. Oh, let me not disappoint these people. Oh, let me be the bigger person.
Women are taught to be the bigger person, to give the benefit of the doubt. But men are not taught this. It is time for every single woman who's watching this video, and you are a people pleaser, to finally break free from this. If you are a people pleaser or a codependent, it is destroying you and your life. And you have just realized what is costing you. Just like everything that I've mentioned in this video, it is costing you your identity, your power, your freedom, your dreams, your goals, your wishes, your needs. For God's sake, your ability to live your life just for the sake of it. It is costing you so much. You don't realize that you are in a cage until you get out of it, and then you realize that you were in a cage up until this point. That's how I felt when I finally overcame from people pleasing and codependency. And you don't know what is costing you and how bad it was until you get out of that cage, until you break free from codependency or people pleasing. Then you realize how bad it actually was and all of the ways that it was negatively impacting you and your life. How much power that you are giving away. You can never be truly happy if you are betraying yourself, if you are trying to be everything for everyone else. This is a recipe for a miserable life and a miserable self. So many women feel like I don't have a choice but to do what my parents wants me to do, but to get married, but to have kids right now. No, you do have a choice. Getting married, having kids, these are big decisions, and nobody should pressure you into decisions like these. Nobody has a say in when you should get married, have kids. I know people say, oh my gosh, yeah, but my parents do this. My parents are saying this. Relatives are saying that. Well, a lot of women feel like they have to just take it in, take as much as pressure as possible, just go with it. They feel like they just don't have their own boundaries, their own voice. They just have to go along with what everyone else tells them to do. This is the reason why I'm telling you to break free from being a people pleaser. Because it is making you feel like you don't have a choice but to conform to society's expectations or parents' expectations or other people's expectations. So many women are putting their dreams in the back burner just because they felt pressured to get married. I was watching this video from her, and around the end, she said something that made my jaw drop.
How many Einsteins have spent their lives washing dishes? How many Mozarts bent over stoves instead of pianos because they had the misfortune of being born a woman?
I'm just going to let you sink that in, but oh my god, that hit me so hard. Because right afterwards, I was just scrolling through the comments and I found out that Mozart had a sister. She played the piano and she was a prodigy. So I kind of forgot to mention this in the video, but yeah, she was forced to quit performing once she reached a marriageable age. And that is painful and heartbreaking and sad and effed up. That's exactly what I'm talking about. A woman's worth, job, responsibility lies in settling down, getting married, having kids, putting herself in the back burner, putting her dreams in the back burner, whereas men can go out and achieve their dreams. That's what you've been told. Just because you grew up being a people pleaser or a codependent doesn't mean that you need to continue that. You can break free from that, just like how I healed from codependency and overcame that. And now I have stepped into the most unapologetic version of myself. And so if I can do that, then so can you. That's it with the video. I really enjoyed filming this video. If you want to become your most empowered version of yourself, then hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you won't miss out on another episode of the Step Into Your Power series. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next episode of the Step Into Your Power series. Bye.